Previously, on the last chapter, Psyche was punished to death for attempting to kill Lillian, the Sokija's real daughter. Psyche was a fake princess in replacement to Lillian, who disappeared years ago, so no one believed her that she was only framed. In the end, Psyche drank an extreme poison to kill herself, but unexpectedly went back to the past and regressed. She then vowed to leave Sokija family and started making plans. The first step on her plans was to cancel her engagement with Duke Lestier, but the process wasn't easy. Moreover, Duke Lestier got suspicious by Psyche's sudden change in behavior, so he decided to put spies and monitor her. Continuing the story, Psyche was on her way of going out when she unexpectedly heard a voice. She turned around to see who it was. Psyche ran into Isur along with Lillian and Melissa, who was also ready to go out. Apparently, Melissa seemed to have established herself as Lillian's exclusive maid. Isur frowned. As long as Psyche did not harm the reputation of the family, Isur would not care what she does at all. Psyche replied casually that she's going somewhere. Isur expressed his displeasure that Psyche should be preparing a dress for the crown prince's banquet. Isar's black eyes shook with annoyance, but Psyche denied that. She never heard about it. Right then, Isur suggested in a commanding tone that Psyche should go with them. Lillian was obviously happy and persuaded Psyche to hang out together. Lillian, who mumbled silently from behind Isur, smiled mischievously. Really? Psyche felt like she kept losing her words when she was facing Lillian. Afterwards, Psyche rejected their offer, saying that she didn't need a new dress, and that she also has an important matter to attend to. Isar's face darkened further, hardened due to the deviation of her words, who was usually obedient. It has been incredibly annoying to Psyche when she realized how she was treated in this household. Isur wanted to scold Psyche more, but since the carriage is waiting, he can only remind her again. Psyche silently bowed. She wasn't planning to go according to their wishes from now on. No matter what happens, no matter what's the cost, she won't listen to them anymore. Right away, Psyche left the mansion in the bright morning. She was relaxed more than ever as she cleared her thoughts while walking. Earlier, she headed straight to the Magic Association and requested for an ice mage to find out what kind of ice magic can be used against the monsters. Sadly, no mages were available. All mages gather every 6 months, and it was today. Psyche had no choice but to inquire about Moonstone. While she's walking, a person called out to her. Yellow Eyes, with her gray hair which comes down to her chest. It was a familiar face. She covered her mouth with a fan. The ladies with her also laughed and added words. Hilvia Estland arrogantly laughed and glowed her eyes like a fox who found her prey. Of all things, it was Marquis Hilvia Estland who bothered her the most in the society circle. Psyche casually skimmed through the women laughing at her. Hilvia's follower asked why Psyche was alone, without going to the store. Psyche didn't reply. There was no point in arguing and responding to their provocations. Then she slightly sighed and turned around blatantly. It was an action to get out of place. As expected, Hilvia, who was offended, told Psyche about rumors of her engagement. Psyche was confused. She thought that Duke Lestier started the rumors. Psyche's shaking gaze reached Hilvia. Hilvia's pumpkin eyes flashed and added fuel to the fire. Psyche's expression changed strangely when he said new fiancé, an odd expression that she can't clearly display. Hilvia was mocking Psyche that she was easily replaced by a new marriage partner. Suddenly, a man's voice was heard from behind Psyche. It was a voice that both women knew well, a confrontation and angry voice. There was Bernadia, smiling beautifully, however. That smile was ominous. Hilvia froze, frustrated when she saw Duke Bernadia approaching them, and stuttered. It was well known that Duke Bernadia was like a crazy dog in the north, who despised backtalk the most. He caught Psyche, who was visibly surprised, from falling. Bernadia's smile grew dangerously big, and implied not to make rumors that's not coming from him. The young ladies lowered their eyes, but insisted that the rumors have spread already. The rumors about Duke Bernadia, switching engagement from Psyche to Lilian Silkisia. The Duke's gaze finally reached Psyche, but Psyche was dry and expressionless. If Bernadia was engaged to Lilian, she doesn't have to bother finding a way to deal with the monsters. At some point, he smiled after looking at Psyche since he didn't know what she's thinking. Suddenly, like real lovers, Bernadia affectionately put his hands on Psyche's silver hair.
You are the only one I'm engaged to, not Princess Lilian,
Duke Lestier said in a tender tone. Bernadia's body temperature was higher than others, so Psyche felt like hot as if she had touched a fire. The ladies gasped witnessing the scene. Duke Lestier was acting like a real lover. However, Psyche didn't blush, but was rather disappointed. His flirty behavior wasn't new to her. Afterwards, Duke Lestier invited Psyche out to escape from this ruckus. Psyche agreed. There were too many eyes to talk about the breakup here. The ladies who were left behind looked without suspicion of the Duke with their jealous eyes. They headed to the seat nearby a window in a famous tea house. As soon as Bernadia sat down, he started the topic about breaking off the engagement. As expected, Psyche decisively agreed. He didn't see her expression wrong. He didn't have a good feeling for Psyche, but that didn't mean he was sick of her. He felt strange, wouldn't it feel like? The cat who was clingy to him suddenly disappeared. Bernadia has handsome face, endless wealth, and strong power. Nothing was missing, he have them all. That was why receiving this cold treatment from Psyche was odd and suspicious. Bernadia recalled the effect of their ring when he firmly said it was not worth considering. No matter how much he thought about it, there was none that made taking off the ring important. Tracking location, sharing emotions. He wouldn't have thought that Psyche can't escape because of this. He can only feel sadness or fear from Psyche from the ring. No love. Psyche's emotions would flow into him from time to time, because the ring is an artifact. Psyche opened her mouth this time and asked about Lilian. However, Duke Lestier quickly denied it. Psyche replied that she will cooperate as much as she can to deal with the northern monsters. Psyche then suggested to finally make a written contract to uphold their deal. Bernadia was displeased with this situation, but he still agreed. But he didn't know why it was unpleasant. The breakup with Psyche was what he wanted for so long. Moreover, she was willing to help deal with his problem on monsters. Everything in this deal was going in his favor. But why do he feel so bad? In the end, Bernadia finished the contract. After signing the clause, Bernadia offered the contract as it was Psyche's turn to sign. Psyche's eyes upon it went from top to bottom and signed without saying much. Bernadia, who had his brows wrinkled, looked down noticing Psyche's calloused hands. Then he raised his eyes a little and asked Psyche, when did she train swordsmanship? He thought she only grew up beautifully, and her hands should be smooth. It seems he was mistaken. Psyche took a little time, and then responded softly saying that it's been 10 years. As a lady, rough hands are not worth it. So she hid her hands with gloves until now. Now that she decided to let go of all that, Psyche revealed it because she wondered what it would be like to hide it. Contrary to rumors that Psyche was stupid, Bernadia didn't expect that she was using a sword. Bernadia started seeing Psyche in a new light. A brave girl and not a delicate one. He didn't know nor care anything about Psyche until now, because he thought it was just transactional. Finally, Psyche finished signing the contract. She then told Bernadia to have an identical copy of the contract to keep. He filled out another identical one and handed it over to Psyche. The contract to help Duke Lestier against monsters, in exchange for canceling the engagement, was formed. Since Psyche's goal to have a formal contract is now complete, she bid farewell. Duke Lestier's reply was dull. He was still distracted by Psyche's rough hands. Just right then, a voice called out to Psyche. The sound of footsteps has come closer to them. Bernadia, who was getting up, looked at where the voice was coming from with a faltering look. The owner of the roar was Lillian, her two brothers. Izzer and Lennox were together with her. Lillian was dressed in a new boutique, gorgeous outfit. Izzer and Lennox, who seemed unpleased, quietly followed Lillian behind. Bernadia was terrified of meeting the real princess and Izzer, whom he hated to see. Lillian, who did not hear Bernadia swear, raised her skirt slightly and greeted him gracefully. Afterwards, she took the seat next to him and sat down. Lillian complained to Psyche, but it was meant for the Duke. She said that it was urgent, but Lillian thought that it was a cover-up just to see Bernadia secretly. But even before Psyche could point out, Lillian, who leaned toward Bernadia, made a cute voice. Lillian was smart. Not only was she a friendly person, she also knew how to use people's sympathy to her. The real princess who always caught people's heart easily. Lillian seated without permission like having no manners. But nobody scolded her. Her cheerful vibe and likable personality was very opposite to Psyche's calm personality. When Lillian folded her eyes beautifully, men who were staring felt that they were struck by Cupid. However, the thought of falling for Lillian changed instantly, because Bernadia disregarded her. Even Lillian was taken aback. He couldn't hide his distorted face when he saw her acting cute. That didn't work on him even for a bit. Psyche was surprised, but she didn't say anything to intervene with them. Isolde bowed his head to Lillian instead. It was always him to clean up after Bernadia's mess. Bernadia left without any hesitation, frustrated. Lillian had no time to hold on to him. Lennox, who took Bernadia's seat, soothed his sister who was on the verge of crying. Lennox was mistaken that Bernadia was in love with Psyche, because he cared a lot for Psyche in public. However, Izzer thought differently. It was very obvious that he'd tie someone who will be worth to him. So Bernadia was just acting for the sake of gains he'd get. The moment it turned out that Psyche, who appears to be on a leash on the outside, was nothing to him. Izzer has witnessed so much between their relationship. It was only Psyche who does something in the name of maintaining their engagement. In the past, she was desperate for the foolish thought of changing Bernadia's heart, to the point that she was being punished. It was like Psyche was chasing Bernadia for love, like an immature person throwing away the family's image. From Psyche Silkisia to Psyche only, she wasn't angry, rather, she felt nothing. Still, Psyche's nonchalance seemed to offend Izzer greatly, so he went to punish her. Psyche didn't object. If it was Psyche in the past, she would have been bowing her head before Izzer, afraid that she would be abandoned. However, this time, Izzer gave out a punishment for Psyche to be banned from training room. All because she went on a secret meeting with Duke Bernadia Lestier without informing Izzer. There was a crack in Psyche's expressionless face. The training room was her comfort zone. She always went training there every day, especially when she wants to clear her mind. In fact, Psyche was proud of her scarred hands as a result of swordsmanship training. Lennox was an annoying and cheeky person, so he added oil to the fire. Like a beast that succeeded in hunting, Izzer responded that the place was only for Silkisia family. Feeling strange satisfaction, Azar crossed his arms and leaned against the back of the chair. Psyche tried to reason out that the soldiers doesn't have Silkisia's last name. Izzer defended that the soldiers deserved it while Psyche did not, because she is a fake. However, Psyche gave a confident answer that she also deserved to be there and is better than soldiers. Izar's eyebrows wriggled at her unwavering answer. Lennox and Lillian were bewildered. It was a ridiculous claim. Izzer knew what the surname meant to Psyche. The Duke of Silkisia ordered Izur to break Psyche, to make her depend on them. He was obliged to trample on Psyche's self-esteem, and to prevent her from leaving the dukedom. So he thought Psyche was going to bow down and apologize. But it wasn't effective this time. Izur changed his approach and brought up his words that Psyche might like, but was actually empty, distinguishing between what Psyche should do as a lady and what she shouldn't do. Studying politics while getting acquainted with aristocrats was a lady's duty rather than holding a sword. Psyche clenched her fist. Izur's words were true to an extent after all. However, no matter what accomplishments she have done, they still won't acknowledge her. They're going to use her thoroughly and discard her after. That's why she spoke up. Psyche told Izur that she's going to live not according to their wishes anymore. Psyche felt the gaze of two astonished people, Lennox and Lillian, but she didn't care. Izur, who had been keeping a heavy silence, rubbed his lips as if he was about to hit her. He told Psyche to listen to him, because his orders represent Duke Silkisia. However, Psyche rebutted, asking if they even ever consider her to be one of them. It means that Psyche won't follow their wishes, because she wasn't considered as family. Even in the Silkisia mansion, mere servants look down on her. They don't think that Psyche has authority of being a Silkisia, because she is a fake princess. Psyche told Izur that she knew that. Izur was aware of her situation but ignored it. Lennox, who was listening, shouted at Psyche, clearly a lack of respect. Lillian, who was crying like a baby, clung onto him, preventing him to throw the teacup. An unexpected, unfolded scene. Yet people's eyes were already looking at them, too late to stop this. Those people were clearly looking for something to gossip. Izur, who cared about the Silkisia's reputation, realizes the trouble created by Lennox. Obviously, it was unfit for a noble to shout. It was unsightly and improper. However, Lennox was clearly immature and even tried to argue with Izur. Izur changed his tone, threatening his younger brother to sit down and shut up. Lennox sat down immediately, but was still grinding his teeth, glaring at Psyche. Izur also lowered his voice so that others could not hear it, fearing of damaging Silkisia's image. Psyche replied in a cold manner. She doesn't want to waste her time on something useless. She declared that she will have a duel against the soldiers to win and prove herself. If Psyche proved that she is better than them, then she will be eligible to use the hall however she like. It was said that Psyche has problems. Thus she have no rights to use the training hall. And so was it wrong to use it if she proved herself?
That's all, folks. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, comment down below, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. I will be posting more videos about good reads you may like, so stay tuned. Thanks for watching. See you soon.